Hi my dear children, welcome back. Today we are going to see your second part from your ecosystem chapter. So, from the ecosystem, in the previous part, in your first part, we discussed about the different types of ecosystem, isn't it? Yes. So, today we are going to see the components of the ecosystem in detail. Yes, come on, let us see. So, what are the abiotic components? So, there are two components in the ecosystem. So, they are abiotic and biotic. So, first we will see about the abiotic. What is abiotic? So, abiotic refers to the non-physical surroundings, non-physical things around us, right. So, which is present in the ecosystem, right. So, that includes inorganic substance. So, first you can see the inorganic substances. So, what are the inorganic substances? The inorganic substances are nothing but the carbon dioxide, oxygen, nitrogen. So, the gases that come under inorganic substances, and also water and minerals which is present in the ecosystem, they are called as inorganic substances, right. So, carbon dioxide is an abiotic component, oxygen, nitrogen, water and minerals, they all come under the abiotic components. The next one is organic components. So, what are these organic components? The organic components means the substances that contains carbon, for example, carbohydrates, proteins and fats. So, these come under the abiotic components, right. So, somehow the biotic and abiotic are linked together or interacted together. So, the organic components are carbohydrate, protein and fats. Yes. The third thing is climatic factors. So, what are the climatic factors? Atmosphere and temperature, light, humidity, wind and rainfall. These all come under the climatic factors. Okay. Even the climatic factors is also come under abiotic components. The rainfall, humidity is nothing but the water vapor in the air, right. So, that is known as humidity, and then light, the sunlight, wind, the air, temperature, the temperature of the place, whether it is hot or cold, right, and atmosphere. So, the atmosphere also a component, abiotic component in the ecosystem. So, atmosphere, all that come under climatic factors. And the last one is the edaphic. What is edaphic means? It refers to soil. Edaphic means it refers to soil. Soil is nothing but mud, right. So, even the soil come under the abiotic components. So, when these abiotic components interacted with the biotic components. So, now let us see, you learned what are the abiotic components, right. Now, let us see what are the biotic components. So, the biotic components are nothing but the plants. So, the plants, trees, animals and microbes. So, these are all the biotic components. So, of course, all the living things. So, all the living things are come under the biotic components. So, in the abiotic components we discussed about the organic, inorganic, climatic factors and soil, right. So, these are all the biotic components, plants, animals and then microbes, right. So, now let us see in detail about what are the biotic components. So, first we will see, so the biotic components are further classified into three different groups. So, you know that these are all the biotic components, right. So, if there is any removal of this any single population from the ecosystem, it will definitely disturb the complete ecosystem. If we remove the animals, definitely there will not be any ecosystem, there will be problems in the ecosystem, the ecosystem will not function properly, right. So, all the biotic components is very essential to run an ecosystem. So, now let us see how we can classify the biotic components into three different categories on the basis of their mode of food they are taking, that is mode of nutrition. We can classify the organisms into 3 different categories, right. So, let us see. So, the first one, so we can classify into 3 categories. The first one is autotrophs. So, it is known as autotrophs. Autotrophs, or they are also called as producers. They are also called as producers, right? Yes. So, next we will see the next one. The second one is heterotrophs. Heterotrophs, or these heterotrophs are also called as consumers. Right. The third one. So, next we will see the third one. So, the third one, they are known as decomposers. Decomposers. So, decomposers, these decomposers are also called as saprophytes. Okay. saprophytes. Right. So, on the basis of the nutrition, on the basis of the taking of the food, the organisms, the biotic components are classified into 3 different categories. Autotrophs or producers, they produce their food. Heterotrophs or consumers, they consume from the producers. And decomposers, decomposers are also called as saprophytes. Okay. So, now this again, this heterotrophs are further classified into different 5 categories. Okay. So, on the basis of the food they are eating. So, now let us see. So, the heterotrophs are again classified into first one. So, the first one is herbivores. The first one is herbivores, and the second one, they are called also known as, the second group they are called as carnivores. And the third group they are called as omnivores. OMNIVORES, omnivores. And the fourth group they are called as scavengers. SCAVENGERS, scavengers. And the fifth group, they are also called as parasites. PARASITES. Right. So, this heterotrophs or consumers, they are classified into 5 different categories: herbivores, carnivores, omnivores, scavengers and parasites. Okay. So, of course, we all know that herbivores, they eat only plants, carnivores, they eat only flesh of other animals, omnivores, they eat both plants as well as flesh of other animals, scavengers, the animals that eat the dead animals. So, those are called as scavengers. And parasites, parasites are the organisms that live inside the body of the other organism that is living, and they eat the food, or they are feeding inside the body of the other organism, right. Yes. So, now let us see the food chain. So, by seeing the food chain, we can understand if we remove one single population, that is going to affect the complete ecosystem, right. So, here you can see the grass. So, grass that is plants. So, they produce their own food, that is why they are called as producers, and this grass is eaten by a grasshopper. So, that is why this grasshopper is called as a primary consumer. It consumes the grass, that is producers, right. So, that is why this is eaten by the first animal. So, that is why this is known as a primary consumer. Here again the grasshopper is eaten by a bird. So, bird is known as a secondary consumer, because bird is a organism that is eating the grasshopper, right. So, that is why bird is a secondary consumer, and again the bird is eaten by a snake. So, the snake eats the bird, right. So, the snake becomes a tertiary consumer. So, from the producer the energy is flowing towards the grasshopper, and from grasshopper the energy is flowing towards the bird, and from the bird the energy is flowing towards the snake, and finally the snake is eaten by a owl or a eagle, right. So, the energy is flowing towards the eagle or a owl. So, after that once the eagle or owl dies, once it is dead, so we can see many organisms, many microorganisms like bacteria and fungi, they decompose, they eat the dead animals, right. So, these animals are decomposed, and finally the decomposed organisms, the decomposed substances, again it is passing into the soil, and thereby from the soil again the plants get the minerals from the soil. So, here it is like a continuous cycle. Here the energy is flowing, thereby what happens, the energy from the producers, again the energy is flowing like a chain. So, if we remove any one single population from this food chain, that will completely affect the complete ecosystem, right. So, now let us see here the plants. So, plants, they produce their food. So, you all know that they produce with the help of the sunlight, carbon dioxide and water, they prepare their own food. So, the leaf in the plants, they take the sunlight and they absorb the sunlight, and they take up the carbon dioxide and water, they mix up together and they prepare its own food. So, that is why plants are called as the producers. So, they produce their own food, right. So, plants are the first, in every food chain you can see that all the food chain starts from the plants or grass or trees, okay. So, in any food chain or in any energy flow, so we can see the first one will be the producers, okay, right. So, here then again the plants are eaten by the plant eating animals. So, giraffe, elephant, even some cattle like sheep, goat, cow, so they eat the plants or the parts of the plant, right. So, thereby what happens, from the plants the energy is taken by the plant eating animals. So, this plant eating animals, they are also called as primary consumers. So, what is consumers? Consumers means they are consuming the food from the producers. So, that is why these animals are called as primary consumers. So, again this energy is passed to the secondary consumers. So, you can see a tiger is eating a flesh, a lion is eating a deer or any organism. So, these animals, or they are also called as carnivores, and they are also called as secondary consumers. Why they are called as secondary consumers means the energy is passing from producers to the primary consumer, and from the primary consumer the energy is flowing towards the secondary consumers. So, that is why these animals are called as secondary consumers, right. Yes. So, next what happens, we can see the scavengers. So, once if a lion or if a tiger dies, or if any animal dies, so usually some animals hunt the other animal for the food. For example, if you take a lion or a tiger, they hunt the other animal and they kill the animal and they will eat. But if you take a vulture or a jackal, so they will eat the dead animals which is died maybe 2 days before or 1 day before, they will eat the flesh of the dead animals. So, that is why these animals are called as scavengers, or they are also called as tertiary consumers, right. Yes. So, next we can see here, you can see the vulture is eating the dead zebra. So, these vultures are called as tertiary consumers. Right, and then we discussed about the parasites. So, parasites are the animals that they live inside the body of the other organism. Example, hookworm. This is the hookworm image. So, you can see here the hookworm is nothing but it is present inside the intestine. So, it will suck the blood from our body, right. So, hookworm is a parasite. So, the next one, decomposers. Decomposers are nothing but microorganisms like bacteria and fungi. So, this bacteria and fungi, they are formed from the dead animals and plants. So, once the animals or the plants die after, so the compounds, the organic compounds in the body is converted into the materials, like, so this bacteria and fungi, they change the compounds, they will convert the organic substances into minerals, right, and again this minerals are passed into the soil. So, how the soil gets fertility? Because of the decomposers, because of the bacteria and fungi that changes the organic matter into the minerals. Okay. So, here you can see the dyed fox. So, the dyed fox is decomposing because of the bacteria and because of the fungi, the completely the fox is decomposed. So, thereby what happens? The carbon, that is the minerals, all the vitamins present in the inside the body of the fox, the bacteria and fungi changes into minerals, that is essential compounds, and this essential compounds and minerals are mixed with the soil. So, okay. So, thereby the soil gets more fertility and also the plants absorb these minerals from the soil. So, thereby there is a continuous cycle of energy that is flowing from the plants to all the organisms, and again once the organisms die, again the energy is flowing towards the soil, and from the soil the energy will go to the plants. So, this is a cycling process. Okay. So, here we can see the cyclic process in a chart. So, here dead plants and animals. So, once the dead plants and animals, so they are decomposed. So, the decomposers, that is the microorganisms. So, the decomposers change them into minerals. So, the dead plants and animals or the decomposers change the dead plants and animals into minerals, and again the minerals is taken by the soil. So, here the minerals is taken by the soil, and from the soil the energy, that is the minerals, are absorbed by the green plants. So, green plants, okay, and again from the green plants animals get the energy. So, animals get the food, right, again the animals will die, or some animals they produce some animal droppings. So, animal droppings is nothing but waste of the animals. So, this waste of the animals also decomposed and they are converted into minerals. So, this is a cyclic process where all the minerals from the soil is absorbed by the green plants, and these green plants are eaten by the animals. So, of course, human beings, even us. So, we get the food from not only from the plants, and we also eat from the animals. But where do the animals eat the food? Yes, animals eat the food from the plants, right. So, somehow we are dependent on the plants and animals, and of course, animals need plants, right. So, this is the cyclic process of a ecosystem. Okay. So, with this, in this lesson you have learned about the biotic and the abiotic components. So, you learned what are the abiotic components and also you learned about the biotic components, and also in the biotic component how all the organisms are interlinked together. So, if we remove one single population from this ecosystem, that will definitely affect the whole ecosystem between the organisms, right. So, that is why we have to ensure that we have to plant more plants and trees, thereby all the animals will get the food, and not only animals, even once the animals and the plants die after because of the decomposers, again the plants will get the minerals through the soil by the decomposers, right. So, hope this class is useful for you. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.